right, Secret Invasion Episode 6 is out, and let me tell you, we were this close to having a perfect MCU show. We were so close. So close. Okay, this video is kind of going to be broken up into two parts. First, I'm just going to real quick touch on my thoughts on Episode 6, and then after that, I'll get into the whole series. So let's kick it off. Episode 6 is fine. It's perfectly fine. I think it's good in some places, like really good in some places, and I think it's definitely flawed in some places, and I that makes me a little sad because I feel like up to this point, the show was just about perfect, and now it's like pretty good. It's a good show. Let's start with some things I loved. The Gaia Gravik Super Skrull fight was incredible. I loved it. I know a lot of people are probably going to be upset about that, but for me, like, just the idea of seeing a Super Skrull perfectly represented with a big rock arm and one big firearm, it doesn't get a lot better than that. I do think it's funny that the closest thing we have to Sue Storm's powers is Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, I guess that qualifies. That whole fight did raise some questions for me. Like, how do they know? How do they know how to use all those powers? Why do they not just use some of those powers exclusively and not use the other powers, other than just like to make the fight more interesting? But like, why are we not doing Captain Marvel the whole time, right? Like that's pretty clearly the most powerful one. Why is Korg even involved in this? To that point, I have a list here of all the powers that they got, all the different super DNA. Extremis, we already saw that one. Cull Obsidian, we saw that one. Frost Beast, we got to see a little of that. She did like a big frost sword, that was fun. Groot, saw that. Ghost, like I was talking about earlier. Captain America, sure, any of them could have been Captain America. Corvus Glaive, I'm pretty sure that's the guy with the freaky head who looks like, I think they call him Squidward, and then he does all the mind powers. Thanos, we saw some of. I don't quite see what we get out of Thanos. Like, what does Thanos have that, you know, Hulk doesn't? I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. Outrider, Proxima Midnight, Captain Marvel, again, should have been the whole time. Abomination, that was fun to see. Any Abomination is fun. So then, I'm going to skip two. You put Cull Obsidian, this is a bad list. They put Cull Obsidian twice. Korg, Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw might be the one who does the mind zippies. Okay, so then we've got Valkyrie, Thor, Gamora, Winter Soldier, who's just Captain America, right? Like, that's just Super Soldier. And then three that make me laugh. One, Mantis, just because how does she know to use the word sleep to make people go to sleep? I don't know. All I can assume is you get the DNA as a Super Skrull, and then you just like sort of kind of get it. You just get like all the briefing on how that all works. Doesn't make sense to me, but I'm just gonna go with it. Chitauri, which pretty notably not special in any way, right? Those are just like grunt soldiers. I'm not sure what we really gain from that. And then the one I've been racking my brain on why this feels so absurd to me, but everything else in that fight worked. Everything looked good, felt Super Skrullish, it felt exciting, and then then Gaia gets this Drax arm, right? And she looks at it like, yeah, but like something about it, it's just so goofy to me. Like, I don't know why I can accept big Hulk arms and big rock arms and anything else, and even antenna. I look at it and I go, that looks, for sure, fine. Looks normal to me. But something about just like, something about her with like a Dave Bautista arm is just so incredible to me. I'll never get over that. I think that's great. It's adorable. Other things I did like, I liked Fury's kind of confrontation with the president. It's always good to see more Sonya. Those were all very entertaining interactions. Like, those are fun to see. I liked, you know, Skrull Rhodey getting his due. I feel like he really could have solved a lot by just shooting him directly in the head immediately. I feel like that, I don't know why he's trying to convince the president like he needs to make this moral decision. Just shoot him. And then he'll be like, oh, cool. Rhodey wasn't green before, so he must be right. Like, problem solved. That is kind of true for the whole series. Like, at any point, they could just cut someone, you know, cut the finger off and then prove, and you would have no problem. But you just kind of have to suspend yourself for that. I think there's always going to be, it's the same with like time travel stuff. There's always going to be a loophole that you could go through, or a thing that like, sure, you could do that, but that wouldn't be entertaining to watch. So at some point, this is a fiction show and I have to just kind of buy into the fiction that they're presenting or not like it at all. And that seems sad to me. I also enjoy the president's response to aliens. I think that's fun, and also probably what a US president would do is just like, aliens exist, kill them all, no questions asked. That feels right to me. That whole ending sets up some really interesting stuff. I'm excited to see what the Marvels kind of picks up on, the threads that chooses to pull. I hope we get to see more of that. I like Fury and Vara, I'm gonna say. I did not look at that. I'm gonna say that's right. If that's not right, you can just write a very mean comment, and I will just hit the like button on that, and I'll be like, cool, you got me. You really got me. I like Fury and Vara. I like that their whole ending is really sweet and poignant, and I think it really serves the story well. I feel like all the character arcs did resolve nicely. The problem that I have with this episode is that it just didn't resolve the arcs that we really set up to this point entirely. Like, for the rest of the show, Fury's whole arc is learning to become himself again, acknowledge his mistakes, and grow. And to do that, he ends the last episode by saying, like, this is my fight, I'm gonna do it, I have to be the one to take it on. And then this episode is just, he just like never sees Gravik for even a single second. Like, there is no interaction with Gravik and Fury in this episode. And that, to me, it does feel like what Fury would do, but also just from a writing standpoint, it's kind of a letdown to have all this build up and you expect Fury to have some kind of debate with Gravik about like, hey, I did what I had to do. And then we just are kind of robbed of that because it's been Gaia the whole time. A good twist, but kind of one of those twists where you look back and you go, well then why did we do some of this? Like, what was the point of giving Fury some of this arc if we're just gonna have him not show up for that at all? And that's just like a little bit disappointing to me. So I'm conflicted about this episode and kind of the whole series now, because it's just, while it's a good episode that's entertaining and fun to watch, it feels like the end of a, not completely, but a slightly different show than the one that they've been giving us up to this point. So I don't know, it doesn't quite fit for me. Maybe on rewatch, I can kind of get back into it and re-enjoy it. And maybe if you pair all of it together, like, I could make an argument for a through line of Fury, not just becoming himself again, but learning that he needs to like invite people in, use a team. But it feels a little bit like the Hulk thing, where it's like that development sort of happened in between this last episode and the final one. So I don't know, that all just feels a little bit disjointed. It's not quite as smooth as I'd like the show to be and as I felt it was up to this point. But all that said, the series as a whole is still really good. I'm very happy with this show. I think it's not the best MCU show that they've made, and that's disappointing because I really thought it had potential to be. But it's still really fun. It's a really solid spy thriller show that I think gets to the heart of what Fury's character is and gives him some new things to do, makes him more interesting. I feel like this is kind of his soft reboot as a character. Let's give him Vara. Let's give him a purpose again. Let's make him feel like he's needed, give him something to do. Hopefully the Marvels picks up on that and furthers it and doesn't just go, anyway, he's Fury again. That would be disappointing. I think this is one of the few times that I think you could really use some of the stuff that happened in this show to kind of change a character, where you could watch that happen and feel okay about it. From the last movie we saw Fury, now to the Marvels, I feel like there's a potential to have him be not a completely different, but an adjusted character. And then if people are like, where'd this come from? Go watch Secret Invasion. That seems like the kind of thing you'd want to do with these shows, as far as I'm concerned. But I feel like this show is just a little bit disjointed. It's not as disjointed as, say, Miss Marvel, which I feel like was 2 pretty solid seasons of a show, kind of mushed into 1 season of a show. This never loses the plot. This doesn't feel like, they didn't introduce some crazy thing 2 episodes before the end where you're like, I guess we're doing that now. Okay, sure. Like, this is consistent. This has a through line. I think it's really solid. It's not perfect. There's some writing issues that I think are kind of prevailing through the whole thing. Just to where you there's every once in a while a character will do something or get to a place and you go, I'm not totally sure, like, emotionally or mentally how they got to this place. We just have to kind of go, yep, they're here now. Don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. I do kind of wish we saw a little bit more Skrull, and not just like more of the alien face, but like I wish we saw more Skrulls doing Skrull things. Like, I wish we got to see how that affected people. And like, I feel like this could use a little bit of a dose of a little Sam Raimi, where you you see how the world is kind of affected by the crazy thing going on, not just the crazy thing going on. Like, show us some people who find out, like, oh, my mom's a Skrull. Like, that's something. That's an interesting kind of thing to it. And maybe they will going forward, but this kind of feels like a thing where they went, okay, and now we did the Skrull storyline and we can go on and do the next one. And I'm afraid that is what it's going to be. I'm afraid that it's going to feel like a side issue in the MCU as a whole, where it really, I think, should feel like a big event. Really, though, who knows? Like, the Thunderbolts could be about the ramifications of this crazy Skrull assassination war that the president has started. Like, that could be the whole movie, and we don't really know that. Or it could be like a side note in the Marvels, and then we just get on with whatever Kang thing they think is more important or more interesting than that. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the series. While not perfect, I think the actors are great in it. I think the story is really fun and engaging. The vibe is spy thriller to the max. I think a lot of this, I would say the majority of this show really works, with a couple of caveats here and there. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I still put it probably in the top 4 or 5 MCU shows, and that's still really solid. I think this is definitely worth watching and a really fun show. Thank you for watching my video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on anything, movies, shows, whatever, just hit the like button, hit the subscribe, comment down below what you want me to review next, and I may or may not do that because I'm not your dad.